Peter Snell was born in the country town of Upanaki, population 1,000, on December 17, 1938. His schooling began here, and his early school days were as happy and carefree as any other New Zealand boy. When Peter was 9, his parents moved cross-country to the farming town of Tiarawa, and it was during his teens that Peter developed his love of sport. Peter enjoyed any kind of game and was competent in most, and his parents gave their son every encouragement. His father, an electrical engineer, was a keen golfer, and Peter naturally followed and was soon matching strokes with the best of local talent. In true New Zealand tradition, he played rugby and was a member of the school's first 15. This didn't stop him playing the occasional game of hockey. Tennis was his favourite summer sport, and he became the school champion. Later, when he left school and began work in Auckland, tennis took up most of his spare time. But a chance meeting is to change this. When a close friend, Bill Bailey, already a well-known runner, invites him to join in on a Sunday training run under the guidance of his coach, Arthur Lydiard, he thinks it a bit of a lark and perhaps good for his tennis. Peter was not interested in running and generally had been beaten to the tape in school meetings. He finds his stamina no better now. He can't even keep up with the pace of a Sunday jog and soon joins Arthur Lydiard in the car. Lydiard, who's been watching closely, tells Peter Snell he has the makings of a champion runner. By hard talking, the coach persuades a skeptical Peter to try the training program he has devised. He can't really believe that he could become a champion, but finally he starts on the training program, having faith in Arthur Lydiard's judgment and experience. Arthur Lydiard's idea is simple enough. Body conditioning for athletics is best done by marathon training. Peter is told that he'll have to average 15 miles a day, 100 miles a week. This not only builds up stamina, but improves the blood circulation. Over long periods, this strengthens the heart and enlarges the arteries, so when extra effort is called for, the heart can easily supply more blood to the muscles. During the hard weeks, months, years of training, Snell has many disappointments, but by persistence becomes first the half-mile provincial champion, then the national one. Lydiard told Snell when he could run 20 miles over hills and through bush and come back still feeling fresh, he was ready to take on the world. Then in 1960, the Rome Olympics, Snell wins for New Zealand the gold medal for the 800 metres in 1 minute 46.3. On January the 27th, 1962, the athletic world was shaken. Without warning at Whanganui, the half-miler Peter Snell lops 1/10 of a second off the world record for the mile in the amazing time of 3 minutes 54.4. Snell becomes the world's champion miler. A week later at Christchurch, he runs in the half-mile against a visiting American track team. With Robinson of Auckland as pace setter, the first lap was completed in the fantastic time of 51 seconds. But showing no sign of tiring, Snell takes the lead at the beginning of the second lap. He comes home to break another world record and still has enough energy to wave to the crowd. The Americans Dupree and Bork fill the minor placings. Snell breaks 2 records in one race. He cuts 1.7 seconds off the 800 yards and lowers the 800 meters record by 1.4 seconds.
Congratulations, Peter, on a magnificent effort. How did you feel when you went past the quarter with 51 seconds?
Well, I thought, this must be a world record. If I can't continue now for another 46 seconds, well, there's something wrong somewhere. I was almost horrified at the pace of it, actually. It was far too fast, far faster than I really wanted to do.
Well, as a commentator, I was almost breathless when I saw Robinson speed out to the front, and he must have played a big part in your record today.
Yes, I thought for a minute he was going to kill it by by his his speed. He went far too fast, I feel, but however, it turned out for the good.
Comparing today's race with that effort in Whanganui last week, how did you feel?
Well, this has taken far more out of me. I was had it by the time I'd reached the back straight, and I just went on the thought of that world record alone. In Whanganui, I was feeling quite fresh with 300 to go, and I felt much better at the finish.
Peter Snell is now a national figure and a draw card for athletic meetings. Everyone is here to see him break records.
The average member of the public expects an athlete to be at the top all the time and cannot understand that in order to produce a world-class mile performance, everything must be 100%. This is one race that I shouldn't have competed in, as only 2 weeks before I'd suffered an attack of gastroenteritis. And although I felt quite well during my normal course of work, under the stress of a top-class mile race, I found that I was very weak in the last lap and finished a dismal third. I made up my mind that after this disappointment I was going to get right into a build-up of 100 miles a week as soon as possible. With 100 miles to run every week during the build-up, it is necessary in the early stages to rise before 6 a.m. to supplement the work in the mornings with a 5-mile run. As my fitness increases, I manage the full 100 miles in the evening runs and regard my morning 5 miles as extra. I feel that the morning work has the effect of easing out the aches and pains from the previous night's training, and as such it is of great value. My first opportunity to run a mile outside New Zealand after breaking the world record was at Los Angeles in their Memorial Coliseum. I felt that the Americans regarded my Whanganui performance as a fluke. It was done on a grass track, more than 4 laps to the mile, and they'd never heard of Whanganui. Here I had the opportunity of running against the best in the States on a first-class cinder track. My main opposition here was Darrell Burleson. Jim Beattie had withdrawn through an ankle injury. I didn't make the mistake of following the early leader. He was there just designed to make the race fast, and I ran evenly, just over 60 seconds per lap, reserving my strength for the final finishing burst. Took over the lead and ran strongly to the 3/4 mile mark and round into the back straight of the final lap. As far as I'm concerned, this is where a mile race starts. The first 3 laps are relaxation and positioning. And I was all set for the move I was going to make with 2:20 to go, even though Burleson was behind me and I'd lose the element of surprise. I hoped that I'd at least gain 3 or 4 yards with my break. Burleson was able to follow us early, and although I didn't look over my shoulder as I usually do coming into the straight, I felt I was running really well and powerfully at the finish.
Snell's time of 3 minutes 56.1 broke Herb Elliott's American all-comers record. The boy from down under had certainly proved himself.
It always gives a feeling of exhilaration to run in the New Zealand All Black singlet. I felt the American crowd were really behind us all the way this night. The hardest training run is the hilly 22-mile Waitarua course which we do on Sundays. I remember when I first attempted this course, I was in tears through the sheer physical exhaustion of the run over the last mile. In order to maintain the rigorous training, it is essential to keep to a monotonous daily routine. Throughout the winter, I race in cross-country. I find that doing well in these races helps me achieve peak fitness. I find it necessary to run over farms, improving my fencing, and generally getting used to the different type of terrain. We're very fortunate in Auckland to have so many native bush tracks right-handed to the city, and I find that it is a very pleasant departure to the monotony of running on road surfaces. The uneven surface really strengthens the calf muscles. During the course of a Waitarua run, I have lost up to 7 pounds in weight through loss of perspiration on a very hot day. It is, however, nowhere near as hot as running in Perth for the Empire Games. The only man I feared in the half mile was my rival from the West Indies, George Kerr. I'd drawn the outside lane, as I did in 1960 for the Olympic Games. I started fast to make sure that I'd keep George covered, because it was rumoured that he would be setting a very fast first lap pace. I looked around and couldn't see him, and so I settled in third position, hoping that the leaders would run through a fairly fast lap so that George would find it hard to use his superior speed at the finish. I was lucky that they managed to do 54 seconds, and as we came to the 300-yard mark, I set sail, hoping to blunt as much of George's speed as possible. I knew that he would be able to go with us to the straight, but then hoped that my strength would outlast him from there. I ran really hard round the last curve, and I looked over my left shoulder to see the effect. He wasn't there, and I looked over my right and noticed he was right on my shoulder. It was going to be a battle of strength up the straight. He couldn't go past, and I knew then that I would have him over the last 50 yards.
Snell just made it, and what was to be the most exciting finish of the Games, and won his first Empire Games gold medal. The next day he ran in the final of the mile.
I received a considerable amount of criticism in this race for my slow time. In a chairmanship, the prime object is to win, and it would have been foolish to have tried for a fast time with the conditions of heat and strong wind down the back straight. There's no pace setter in a race of this nature, no teamwork, every man is out for himself. And although Davies and I finished first and second, we're both running our own individual race. John and I were very pleased to gain first and second for New Zealand.
With track engagements taking up so much of his time which should have been spent in studying, Snell has given up his career as a quantity surveyor, and although he doesn't smoke himself, switches to advertising and promotion work for a cigarette company. It was about this time that Snell made his biggest decision. With work, training and travelling overseas, Snell still found time to court Sally Turner, and on May 11th, 1963, they were married in Auckland. It was an unusual honeymoon. Sally Snell accompanied her famous husband to the United States to see him run in the Modesto Mile.
This race at Modesto was my long-awaited clash with Jim Beattie, and I had to face up to the team running tactics of the Los Angeles Track Club. I was particularly nervous and unsure of myself before the start of the race. As usual, I made my move with 220 yards to go and was very pleased to open up a gap of 15 yards in the run to the tape. The finish of the race is rather overwhelming, with your arms being tugged on both sides, flashbulbs popping, and microphones being thrust towards you, with each reporter trying to get their own exclusive story of the race.
Back to New Zealand and a home of their own. But with a rigorous training schedule, it's hard to find time to even start a garden. However, a wife can find no excuse to dodge her chores. They can now entertain their friends, such as the Murray Halbergs. Murray won his gold medal at the Rome Olympics in the 5,000 metres. Here too is old friend Bill Bailey, who took Peter on that first training run. It's an evening for athletes where they can chew the fat about times clocked and races still to be run. With a successful career already behind him, Peter has an embarrassingly large collection of trophies. It's only close friends who can persuade him to show them. His most prized possession is the gold medal from the Rome Olympics. Peter can enjoy his supper, for his diet is an unrestricted, well-balanced one, with plenty of meat and fruit supplemented with vitamins during the winter to increase resistance to colds. On Sundays, Snell usually trains with other athletes leaving from Bill Bailey's house for the Waiatarua course. Many young hopefuls have the opportunity of running with a world champion who is always willing to pass on any advice to those who are keen. Snell enjoys the more social runs where there's a chance of a chat as the miles disappear behind. But he finds hard training monotonous, and those 100 miles must be run each week.
Peter, part of your training includes running 100 miles per week for some time. Why is this necessary?
We've found that this is the ideal distance with which you can develop your stamina to the fullest extent. Arthur Lydiard, when he evolved his system, tried various distances, 50 miles a week, even 200 miles a week, and we accept the fact that 100 is the best.
How long do you run 100 miles per week, for weeks or months?
Well, we work back from the chairmanship we're aiming for. In the case of the Olympic Games at Tokyo, we count back 9 weeks for the track work, another 6 weeks for the hill work, and then the remainder of the time is devoted to 100 miles a week.
How do you get on with interruptions such as a cold or illness? Does it affect you seriously?
It all depends what stage of the preparation this occurs. If it happens during the build-up period, for instance, I think it can actually be advantageous because a compulsory rest gives you a chance to consolidate the work you've done. Similarly, in the early schedule, it doesn't really matter a great deal because you can adjust the training accordingly. If this does happen, though, within the last 2 weeks, it could be disastrous.
Do you pay any particular attention to style?
No, I don't concentrate on style at all. Even although I've been criticised quite considerably on this point, I feel that the most natural and comfortable arm action is the best.
What is the criticism you've had of your style, Peter?
The fact that I carry my arms too low. The reason I do this is because I run these long distances and it's just not practical to carry your arms high when you're doing this long running, and I think this carries over into my racing on the track.
Now, in what can be justly described as a reasonably long but certainly most colourful and successful career, you must have at least one great thrill or moment. Which would you say this is?
Oh, without a doubt it would be definitely the 800 metres at the Rome Olympic Games. Anything that I've achieved, or I think anything that I may achieve in the future, will never come up to those heights. It was mainly, you know, because I went to Rome as an unknown. I myself was hoping at an outside chance to make the final, and then as we progressed through the heats, found that I was running better than expected. The excitement mounted. In the actual final itself, during the race I found the pace was a bit hard in the middle stages, and then suddenly with 100 yards to go I found myself thinking, well, I can get third, and I can get second, and I could win. And it just came up to a tremendous crescendo.
How did you feel when you actually braced the tape?
Well, I didn't actually know I'd won. I could see this tape unbroken about 2 yards away, and I remember flinging myself at it, but it was so close I wasn't sure that I had won. I wasn't actually looking over at Moens at the time, and I remember feeling that it didn't matter what happened, either first or second was fair enough.
What of the future, Peter?
One of my greatest ambitions is to achieve a 3-minute 50-second mile, and I feel that this could be possible, and I would like to concentrate on this after the Olympic Games. When I decide to retire, I don't think I'll continue with running, because it's a sport where winning is the most important thing. In a game like tennis, for instance, you can get out and have a good hard game. Win or lose, you really have the satisfaction and enjoyment of a good game.
That's the story of Peter Snell, a tennis player who tried his luck at running and with hard work rewrote the world record books for middle distance events.